Hello, I'm Ninian Boyle, and welcome to my constellation guides. This evening we will be looking around the constellation of Hercules. Hercules is a constellation representing an ancient Greek hero, the son of Zeus or Jupiter, and a mortal woman, Alcmene. He is famed for completing 12 difficult tasks, and in so doing killing many monsters that plagued the earth. The gods rewarded him by placing him in the night sky. The constellation, it must be said, is quite faint, but plays host to a few interesting objects for small telescopes and binoculars. You can see Hercules from May through to October, but it is best seen in the summer months of June, July and August, when it will be riding high in the south. The best way to find Hercules is to first locate the star Arcturus in Bothes the herdsman. You can do this by following a curved line from the handle of the plough or Big Dipper. The bright orange coloured star that you arrive at is Arcturus, so you have arced to Arcturus, so to speak. Now, you will need to have a clear eastern horizon, unless you are prepared to stay up late in May, to see the star Vega in the constellation of Lyra the lyre, which represents an ancient Greek musical instrument. Come July, you can't miss Vega. It really is a very bright white star, and is high overhead from mid-northern latitudes on a summer's evening. Now, draw an imaginary line between these two stars and divide it up into thirds. You really do need a good imagination in astronomy. 1/3 of the way from Arcturus to Vega, you'll see a faint circlet of stars. This is Corona Borealis, or the Northern Crown. 2/3 of the way along will place you in the heart of the constellation of Hercules. The central part of the constellation is the easiest to recognise. It is known as the Keystone asterism. An asterism is a well-known pattern of stars that makes up just a part of a constellation, or is made up from stars from several different constellations. The keystone takes its name from the shape of the top stone in an arched bridge. It is on one side of this particular pattern of stars that we find a very interesting object indeed. This is Messier 13, or M13 as it is more commonly known. You can locate M13 in binoculars by centering the star Eta Hercules, that is the top right-hand or westernmost star in the keystone, and then slowly heading down or southwards towards the star Zeta Hercules at the bottom right or southwesternmost star in the pattern. You should notice about 1/3 of the way along this path that there is a faint fuzzy patch of light towards the edge of the field of view. From a truly dark sky sight, you should be able to just make it out with the naked eye if you have good eyesight. If you turn your telescope on this spot, you are in for a treat. Even with a modest telescope of say 3 or 4 inches or 75 to 100 millimeters in aperture, you should start to resolve some of the stars on the periphery of this cluster. A larger telescope, say 6 to 8 inches in aperture, should resolve more of the stars in the group, and anything larger will make the cluster appear as a tight ball of stars. What you are looking at is one of the most fascinating objects in the heavens. It is a globular cluster, the brightest one visible from the northern hemisphere, packed with upwards of 1 million stars. Globular clusters contain some of the oldest stars that we know of. This one has stars that are up to 13 billion years old. These objects orbit around the plane of our galaxy, the Milky Way, and there are many that can be detected with amateur telescopes, and some that are so faint only the largest instruments have any hope of seeing them at all. M13 lays some 25,000 light years away from us, and is around 100 light years in diameter. If you were on a planet orbiting one of the stars in this cluster, you would probably never know true darkness, as the stars will be so bright. Another and often overlooked globular cluster in Hercules is M92. To find it, go back to the top 2 stars of the keystone. This time, draw an imaginary equilateral triangle pointing north, using the stars Eta Hercules and Pi Hercules as the base. M92 can be found just to the east of the topmost point of this triangle. Through your telescope, this cluster should appear as an unmistakable small ball of light. It has a definite nucleus, but it is not particularly prominent. It is nowhere near as bright as its more illustrious neighbour M13, but then it is much further away, at about 35,000 light years from us. So once you have seen M13, take the time to visit this other lovely object and compare them. Another interesting object to track down is the star Alpha Hercules, otherwise known as Ras Al-Ghethi. The name comes from the Arabic and means head of the kneeler. This makes sense when you consider that Hercules is actually upside down. The easiest way to find Ras Al-Ghethi is to in fact find the brightest star of another constellation due south of Hercules. This is Alpha Ophiuchi, or Ras Al-Hague, which means head of the serpent charmer. This star is noticeably white in colour. The bright star to the northwest of this one is Alpha Hercules. Ras Al-Ghethi appears distinctly red in comparison to Ras Al-Hague. It is a distant red giant star some 500 light years away from us and is about 400 times the size of our Sun. This means that if it were to replace our Sun in the solar system, it would swallow up the planets Mercury, Venus, Earth and even Mars. Ras Al-Ghethi is also a double star, which is why I draw your attention to it. These two stars orbit around their common centre of gravity and give us one of the best colour contrasting doubles in the whole of the night sky, as the companion star has a greenish blue tint against the orange-red of the primary. Because of the great distance between these two stars, some 500 astronomical units, or AU, an astronomical unit, by the way, is the distance between the Sun and the Earth. The secondary takes thousands of years to orbit the primary. In order to split these two stars in your telescope, you are going to need a high power, say at least 120 times, as the primary is quite bright, and they are separated by only 5 arc seconds. The other interesting thing about the primary is that it is a semi-regular variable star, and varies in brightness randomly between 3rd and 4th magnitude, although it seems to fall within a period of 50 to 150 days. It was discovered to be variable by the great Sir William Herschel in 1795. So there we are, just some of the fascinating objects that you can find in the constellation of Hercules. I hope you found it useful, and thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. I wish you clear skies.